Design and innovation are the key ingredients when it comes to the evolution of any product. In football, we see it all the time, with bold styles, new concepts and progressive technology. Sometimes it can seem a bit much. But it's not very often we witness the dramatic evolution of a classic. There are just some products that don't need to change, that stand the test of time and become so ingrained in our football culture that they're just part of the furniture. So when PUMA decided to revolutionise the King, it was going to take something special to live up to extremely high standards. Let's go see how they did it. Max, we've got two new boots here, the PUMA King Platinum and the PUMA King Top, and they are what most people would call a reimagination of a classic boot. Can you talk me through some of the design features?
Yeah, sure. So, of course, we've got two very different boots, the Platinum and the Top. Platinum being like really the classic modern, so really into what's currently could be done in the market, and then the re-edition, yet modern, but using the exact same design, lines and features of the OG, the King Top.
So Victor, what kind of decisions went into recreating this?
Yes, so over decades the King was ruling all the pitches over the world. The boot was worn by the best players of all time, like Pelé, Maradona, Cruyff, and as modern football gets faster and faster, we also wanted to rejuvenate the King silo, which means that we bring back a really sleek, lightweight and fast silhouette to the modern football player who really desires those premium materials in combination with that heritage, so classy but still sophisticated and modern design language.
Here underneath the boots we've actually got some of the renders, which is part of the design process that you actually were a really big part of.
Yeah, so this is actually the inspiration, and so we've got a couple of inspiration, but also like this is analysis of the products we have in our history from the PUMA brand itself, of course. And it was interesting to do this analysis to see what could become a key line, what could be interesting to highlight, or what could be interesting to keep, or even to remove. And it's interesting to see that now that we have this, to see that this line actually came from the original, but actually are back to life with a new product. So it's interesting.
The whole silhouette of the boot is much sleeker than before. And then on the bottom, we are using the rapid sprint outsole. We've analyzed statistics from players nowadays, and we could see that they have to do more sprints than ever before. This is the reason why we took this extremely lightweight rapid sprint outsole, because it provides that speed support through the bladed studs here in the forefoot as well as in the heel area, while at the same time having all the conical studs in the forefoot, which was one of the main features of a traditional King boot. And those conical studs really ensure that players can turn quickly on the field of play, so that they always have the control over the whole game.
How much involvement do you have once it gets to the actual manufacturing process? What happens then?
We always work very close with other people in the team, so we always are linked to the PLM that does the brief, so Viktor, and also development team that helps us on daily basis, and also in Vietnam. So when we come to Vietnam, we already have delivered tech packs, material maps, all the measurements, basically everything that is necessary. Then the development team will order all the materials, and we'll see like first samples. When we see first samples, we refine them one after the other until we arrive to something that we think it's nice and approved and off to go.
You mentioned the premium materials, so we've got this K leather that is being used around the boot. How much thought went into that decision to just use as much K leather as possible?
Yeah, so as this boot is specifically made for players who have that best touch on the ball, we also wanted to provide this by the materials that we are using. And as you can see here, it's a really big piece of K leather going all around, so it really hugs your foot comfortably underneath the whole construction, and so that you have that really smooth, superb touch to the ball. And as you can see, the K leather is almost paper thin, so that we also make sure that you have the closest ball sensation possible.
So yeah, we keep in mind, like, of course, the performance as well as the aesthetic. It's always a balance in between those two. For the King Top as well as the King Pro, we will consider the PUMA King is for the brain, as we say. So most potentially like a midfield player, the one that is like lot of freedom with the ball and has to keep his head up and sees the players on the ground. So we call it the brain player.
It's made for this football connoisseur. As we said in the beginning, this is the player who really desires those premium materials, but without any on top. And this is the reason why we've used only a triple black colorway as well, to really make sure that this player doesn't stand out by a colorway, but by the performance, which means that the King is really ruling on pitch.
So going back to the individual features of the boot, I just want to focus on the King Top. You mentioned the tongue, which is a really iconic feature. Is this exactly the same as the previous one, or what kind of changes have you brought into the King Top?
So, good question. On this product, actually, none of the elements are one-to-one the same as the previous one. Design-wise and look-wise, yes, but we have recreated every element with modern techniques. So, to reply to the tongue itself, it's actually slightly smaller because, of course, the overall look of a modern boot is a bit slimmer and sleeker. And also, if you can see, it's slightly curved. It's 3D molded. So, to have already like kind of wrap around the shape before, it was larger, and so because it was larger, it kind of slip on itself. But here, because it was slimmer, we didn't want to have a tongue that stayed like this, so we actually like 3D molded it a bit, so it's like this.
So it actually goes all the way down to the minute detail, and I actually noticed that on the King Top, you've got a kind of refreshed new sole plate design. What can you tell me about that?
Yeah, exactly. So we actually indeed recreated every single element, and the plate was one of them, very important. The key feature of the redesign of the plate was to get conical studs. They are the best for ground penetration and also to quickly turn around, so multi-directionally. So very important. And so for the detail itself on the lines, so we decided to go with very fluid lines because everything was conical. So we tried to match a bit the design, the lines with the studs. And then we play with shininess and matte, which actually took the exact same example between shininess from the lines and a bit of matte.
So you mentioned a lot of the features here, and one of the differences that I'm seeing in the updated King Platinum is the kind of slip-on feature. You've got like this knitted section here. Was it a bit of a risk for you to do that in this updated construction?
No, definitely not a risk, because we definitely wanted to bring this as a modern football boot and what could be on the current market. So the idea was to fuse the leather with the Evoknit sock and bring a second skin-like feeling. And so the Evoknit sock definitely provide optimal fit. So that's something we really were confident with and decided to integrate.
Yeah, so it's amazing for me to see this all come together and to find out more about the process of it all kind of creating this new boot. What is it like for you as a designer to see your own creation actually being made?
Yeah, it's definitely something special, something extremely nice. The project was very smooth, as you can see, from sketch to renders to the product. It has almost not changed, which is a good sign. And of course, it's something I'm really proud of personally. And also when it comes to the King, which is of course one of the most famous show in the history of football, I'm extremely proud and super happy to see the product.
I've noticed being here that a lot of thought and a lot of detail goes into every single tiny part of the manufacturing process. What is it about this particular facility that is created, that allows you to have this relationship?
Yes, so when we talk about King, then we talk about modern craftsmanship. And with our partner here, we really make sure that we not only pass all the standards, but that we over-exceed what we're looking for, which means we're working with the factory in different steps. We are testing the materials in the laboratory, so making sure that all the qualities are correct of the material, also when you put them together. And then when it comes to the assembling process, they are really looking into every single detail and how we can improve it even further. And from factory side, there are also a lot of suggestions how to make things better, which we really appreciate. When you have a first design in mind, they are the ones who really need to translate that design into an actual product. So starting from a 2D design to a 3D product, it takes a lot of different steps. And with the help of this factory here, it's really easy to make that happen.
You've had a lot of players, former players, current players who talk about the King as this kind of legendary boot, and one big fan of the PUMA King is Pep Guardiola. How important is it to have people like that on your side?
It's obviously very important. When we look back at the heritage of King, it was worn by the greatest players of all time, such as Johan Cruyff, and he really inspired the next generations, such as Pep Guardiola. And the way Pep plays football with his teams in Barcelona and now with Manchester City is really dominating football nowadays. And having feedback from his side about the product and also knowing that he loves the product is really, really positive and makes us confident in what we're doing.
So there we have it. That is how you revolutionise a classic. PUMA, well played. If you like what you've seen, want to see more, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to Pro Direct Soccer, and I'll see you next time.